new possibilities than I had even imagined. So it's almost like the world opened up to me in ways I never expected or even knew would be possible. So that's been just amazing. And then at a more micro level, I'm healthier physically and mentally. I put on a pair of pants this morning and I'm like, yeah, I'm rocking these pants.
Nice.
So, yeah, and that comes because of certainly, right, some mindset shifts about, right, what I need to focus on doing and what I deserve to have and be in my life. And also, just really learning to stay committed and focus on the outcome.
Very nice. So what would you say has been the biggest, what had the biggest impact on you, or what was your biggest takeaway from class that's allowed or that's contributed to your recent success?
I think the biggest pivot was learning tools to manage my mindset. So before, I went about things very academically, I would say, right? It's very binary in many situations. And, just because I knew something, I thought that was, I thought that was the end all be all, right? So I think just learning tools to expand my thinking and pivot my mindset, especially in the tricky areas in my life. So, at work, in tough situations, maybe I'm in a disagreement with a coworker or even at home, right, with my partner. How do I change myself, right, my mindset and then my behavior to then affect the outcome that I want? So those resources were absolutely tremendously valuable to me, and having something to lean on, I think, is what's important. So when crap happens, right? When crap hits the fan, I now have a process, right? And a way to navigate through those situations. Whereas before I was probably just reacting, right? Whatever came to mind was the solution that I utilized, and it wasn't always the best choice.
Yeah, cool. And if you think about, can you think of an example of one thing that you're doing differently now? What are one of those tools or one or two of the tools that you now are using that are making the biggest difference for you?
Yeah, actually, one of the tools started before the intensive when you and I first met, Kevin, at the seminar in March, and is that I'm at choice, right? To know that in a moment of, frustration or let's just call it negativity, right? I have a choice of how I show up, right? That next moment is within my control, right? How I respond to that person or that comment, and what I do with my time and my emotions and my thoughts, I'm in control of all that. And knowing that has been the biggest pivot, I think, for me, one of the biggest pivots.
Awesome. And what kind of challenges have you had? I know we've talked a lot. We've had some coaching sessions, and you've sent out some SOS signals to
Yes.
me on occasion. So
Yeah.
what are some of the challenges that you've had with the new awareness and some of the old behaviors and old patterns and old stories? What are some of the challenges that you've had since class?
The first one is just to be patient with myself. So I have a very goal-oriented mindset. So it's sort of like once I know something, I want to, get to that next level the next day. Like I expect myself to get up and be that next thing, right? The very next day. So just knowing and appreciating that it's a process, right? That this is a learning journey, that it's not a sprint to the end, and that it's ever changing, right? The goalpost is ever shifting in a really good way, right? That once I get to that next level or that next climb, there's more to climb, which goes back to those new possibilities that I talked about. Like I want to keep climbing because now that I've climbed a little, I'm like, whoa, like from up here, like stuff looks amazing, right? What more could I get out of this? So I think just to be patient and keep reminding myself that it's a process. So that's been a huge one. And I think the second point goes along with the first point in that people don't know what they don't know, right? So there was a moment coming out of the intensive where I looked around me, I changed, but the other people didn't. And it was hard at first, right? There were friends who didn't get what I was trying to do, and they were still displaying old habits that I wanted to get away from. So it's right? Thinking about how I can help bridge those gaps for and with those people who just don't know what they don't know, right? I didn't know before the intensive, so I was in their shoes not that long ago. Yet I now have seen things differently. So how can I empower and enable them? It does. It's both exciting but also challenging at times, right? It's having to slow down to be like, hey, guess what? You have a choice here. This could be different, or you could really affect the outcome here, and this is what it could look like.
Sure. Yeah, they absolutely don't know what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so figuring out how to bridge that gap, how to get them, how to raise them up, how to use your
Yes.
energy and enthusiasm and positivity to raise them up to play the way that you now are choosing to play, instead of
Mm-hmm.
thinking back down and playing like the old you might have played.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add to that, Kevin, the old stories come up, right? We've talked about this, in our coaching sessions. And just a moment ago, you talked about how that is something I've been working on, which is so key. It's been both a resource and also a very eye-opening part of the journey, in that I have a lot of old stories that I need to, that I'm aware of now, that I'm working on rewriting. So that's been both a challenge in and of itself, but a worthwhile challenge that I'm tackling, and a resource, right? To know that, right? I literally put like I had an empty frame, like I held it up. I'm like, nah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna put this back. Nah, it's old and crappy and dusty. I'm gonna upgrade here.
I don't need that one anymore. It
No,
doesn't
not so
serve me.
much. No.
Yeah. And that's the beauty really of the intensive class is it what it is, it's an awakening. It's
Yes.
awakening, it's awakening you to the things that you didn't know. You didn't know what you didn't know, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I like to say that, when people come into the class, a lot of times they're asleep at some level,
Mm-hmm.
and the purpose is to wake them up.
Yeah.
And once you've been awakened, you can only pretend to go back to sleep, because you can never again say that you
No.
don't know,
No,
right?
you
Now it's a
can't
choice.
unlearn something. It's not possible, actually.
Absolutely. So now you would just be pretending to be asleep. So of all the resources that are available to you, what would you say have been some of the best resources to help sustain what you learn and to kind of keep you going when you fall down?
Mhm.
What do you use to pick yourself back up, and what do you rely on to sustain what you learned?
Yeah, a couple of things. Definitely you. So first and foremost, you. High five and high five. Yeah, just also the willingness to ask for help. That has been in and of itself a journey. I was very closed off about that and in that regard for a really long time. Yet I think in working with you, I learned that asking for help is key to growth, to right have someone spot my blind spots the way you do, and having a trusted partner like you to help me right see and call out the BS. So
Yeah.
that's been huge.
BS, of course, stands for belief system. Help you see your
Yes.
belief systems.
Exactly. Yeah. Or Bravo Sierra. I think someone said that the other day. Let's call you Bravo Sierra. I'm like, okay, yeah. So, uh, and the high five community at large has been tremendous. I sometimes sit back and just watch because I just want to absorb the good vibes and just see how others are progressing in their journey, how they're also right picking themselves back up when they fall, like we all do, and just having that group of people, right, having a tribe that I know is aligned with my values and my system, my belief systems, and really are striving for, they're all striving for the same thing. We're all striving for the same thing. So that's been really helpful to just, have a group of folks to lean on.
Cool. Well, any last thoughts? I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're getting ready. One of the things, and I don't think you would mind me sharing this. One of your outcomes that you set for yourself is to have more joy in your life.
Yes.
And I know we were just talking before we started today that you're headed off to Yellowstone and Moab and going out by yourself. So I'm looking forward to seeing all your awesome pictures on Facebook as you go have this adventure for the next week or so.
Yeah.
And any final thoughts? Anything else that you want the folks that are watching to know?
Mhm.
Any last
Yeah.
thoughts?
Yeah, for sure. I honestly thought that joy and happiness were fluffy things before we met, right? That it was somehow very, very difficult to grasp, right? They were for, other people, not for me. Yet it's amazing in such a short amount of time that I have been able to get to those outcomes that I desire, right? So that we have more laughter at home, right? I have more laughter at work, which I never thought was possible until March of this year, and then again in May, right at the intensive. So it's been really incredible just to see that, right? These things that I thought were for other people, right? Joy and fulfillment and happiness. I'm like, oh yeah, those are for other people. That's not for people like me, right? Yet, yeah, it's something I not only strive for every day, yet can appreciate every day now.
Very
So
cool.
really encourage, yeah, others out there who are watching this or thinking about, right, where to pivot or where to focus or refocus. You know, I say take a look, right, in the mirror with High5's help.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. Have an awesome adventure. High five.
High
Hell
five,
yeah.
high
Proud
five.
of you for doing the work, and I am so very grateful to be on your team. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great time this week, and we'll connect next week.
Sounds great. Thanks,
Thanks.
Kevin.
Thanks, Sylvia. Have a great one.